Good afternoon, Methodical Man here. Coming to you guys with an update video. We are doing a review today of today's price action because a couple different reasons. Number one, we didn't trade it very well, right? We did not trade the price action very well. I'm going to kind of go over some of the mistakes that I made. Coming into the day, I was bullish. And I started out today by looking at the 15-minute chart here. And when I looked at the 15-minute chart, I was looking at this leg here. And basically, I fibbed this leg and saw that the 50% mark was around 250, so I marked that out. I marked out the 250 level. And my idea was, let's run back down below the 250. And then we could start looking for a long, right? So that was kind of the idea at open. So you could see, let's just mark out 250 there. So what happened at open? We pull back, we sweep the 250, we leave the overnight low down there. And once we swept the 250, for some reason, and I can't explain it, I just married this overnight low. And I thought to myself, wow, pretty sure we're going to take out that low, right? Even though we don't have to. In my opinion, we swept 50% of the leg. As soon as we get an inversion of or some sort of entry on the way back up, that's a pretty solid setup. So I did miss this entry. I marked it out and I didn't take it on the 2-minute. You can see we swept the 50%, came back up with okay momentum here. There's no red candles here. Closed above. This would have been the entry into the VWAP, of course, which we don't love. But your stop to break even, this play would have been up here. And you would not have been stopped to break even. And then obviously it just went. Now you can use hindsight and say, okay, well, had we taken this play, would we have gotten our points? Yes. The break even, we would have got 19 points. Could have been done for the day, right? This did not bother me though. Right, I didn't allow this to tilt me. I was patient and I waited, and I was like, okay, I think we kind of just kept going up. So I marked this imbalance out, and I was like, well, I think I put a limit order here for my funded trade and said if we pulled back into this imbalance, I would take it. And we just didn't do it. We never came back into the imbalance. And so as we kind of went up, we had this was a 10 a.m. news push as well. As we kind of went up here and we're holding this imbalance, there were several opportunities before we pushed above initial balance to kind of take a long out of this. And I considered my options a couple of times, thinking I could just go with a 10-point stop and it'd probably be fine, right? On like a 67, 68 entry, you could just have your stop, 10 points down there, 58, 57. And I even talked about maybe buying the overnight high retest here, which I did not do. So I'm okay with how I traded this morning. This is kind of where we went off the rails a little bit. So we pushed above initial balance here. Normally you like to see like 8 to 10 point close above. So technically speaking, this is not really valid because we only closed 5 points above. But I thought that it was good enough, so I took this on my funded account, and normally I would go 10-point take profit with a 10-point stop. Well, obviously, if we would have used a 10-point stop, you can see we would have been stopped out right away. This, in fact, pulled back about 14 points. Now, I did move my stop down to 20 points because a couple different reasons. We had this imbalance down here we'd been holding, and the 50 EMA was kind of creeping above the imbalance there. So I thought to myself, we got some support in this level, the overnight low or overnight high. Well, we end up pushing back up to my entry, and I take the trade off for only a $120 loss. Once we pushed back up here and rejected, I took the trade off. I ate the 6-point loss. No big deal, down $120, right? I took a trade that I thought made sense, and at that point should be walking away. But that's not what we did. We pulled back into here, into the midpoint of this range, into 67. I decided to buy again. So I bought it again right here at 67. And I put my stop down here at 47. I'm sorry, 18 points was my stop. So it pulls back. Was it 18 points? Let's see, 61, 51. So 51 was my stop, right? So I moved my stop back to 51. And why did I choose 51? Well, it's 10 points below the 50 EMA. And that's normally a trade. If I take that trade, I'll put my stop 10 points below. So we're down 120. We got in at 67, and we took a 17-point loss. Now you can see what happened here. Basically shot me in the tick there. That's basically what it did. Shot me in the tick and ripped higher. So we took a 17-point loss. Now, on this push down, we end up closing below this gap here. And this is just horrible trade on my part. Since I got stopped out and we closed below, when this pushed back up and retested here, I entered short again with a 10-point stop and took another loss. Okay. Then we started to push down. I entered short again and took another loss. So I sat here all morning, basically 3 hours, and I guess it was about an hour and a half, 2 hours. I was patient, waiting for a trade, and then inside of basically 5 minutes, I took 4 losers on my funded accounts with a mini. Just completely unacceptable. No call for it whatsoever. And here's the damage. Here is the damage. We are down $1,000 on every account. And we had a Take Profit Trader Pro account that we just started today. So because of this damage that we have done here, we have somewhere between $500 and $700 in drawdown left on every one of these accounts. Now, I've already beat myself up. You know, I went outside and I took a break. I took a nap. We cussed. We thought about it. And in my thought process, I said to myself, you know, because I've been struggling to get payouts, especially on these Apex accounts. And so in my thought process, I said to myself, what am I doing differently now than what I did in late last year, would say like September, October, November? Because we didn't trade well in December. We didn't trade well in January. We have taken payouts this year, but not on a consistent level, right? What am I doing different? That's what I ask myself. And when I sat back and I take a look at it and I think about it, the main thing that I'm doing different is, number one, I'm not just trading the strategy that made me successful, right? An initial balance trade is a trade that I know only wins about 50% of the time. Yet the inversion strategy that I trade, you know, has a 70 to 80% win rate. Number one. So I've been taking these EMA touches, initial balance, 5-minute breakdown, you know, 5-minute trend line break. And while in a hole, those strategies are fine, the strategy that I have done the best with and had the best results with is the inversions. Now, I am going to continue to take the 5-minute. However, the 5-minute does require you to have a 30-point stop loss. And so examining the accounts and seeing the amount of drawdown that I have versus the trades that I take, I have to come to the conclusion. I've come to the conclusion that I've got to reduce my size, right? Shocker. So going forward, we are no longer going to take trades on a mini until we get a couple $1,000s in drawdown. Then we might change it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce my size down to 6 micros with a fixed 10-point stop on inversion trades. And I'm going to target 10 points for the first 5 micros. And then we will set the 6th micro to break even and see if it can run, right? And I mean, you think about this, you're like, okay, well, that's cool and all. So basically we'd be risking $120. If we look at this trade down here, which we outlined and we did not take, if we would have taken the 5 micros for 10 points, that would have locked in $100. And then we set the 6th micro to break even where we're supposed to set it to break even at. The entry on this trade was, we have to go back to the 2-minute to see the actual entry. On the 2-minute, the entry was here at 248. So you do that, you look at where we ran to, right? This helps if I click the right thing here. You know, that runner would have made an additional $480, something like that, just on a single micro. Now, I know some people don't believe in runners. The 6th micro is just kind of there for that purpose, just to be a runner. We're still going to take the 5-minute trades, but because the 5-minute trades have to have a 30-point stop, we are going to be reducing our 5-minute trades down to 2 micros. So the 5-minute strategy will be 2 micros with a 30-point stop, still risking the same thing, $120 in risk. We will be taking full profit at 30 points and not having a runner on the 5-minute strategy until we can build our buffer and get into a better spot. I just don't feel like I've been trading my best, and and it seems like we continuously have days that are decent, you know, somewhere between $100 and $300, and then I have these days where I allow myself to lose $700, $800, $1,000. Also, we are no longer taking more than 1 trade per day. We're going back to our 1 trade per day rule on our funded accounts. So win, loss, break even, whatever the case may be, going forward, we're only going to be taking 1 trade per day. So I need to make sure it's the very best opportunity that there is, right? That doesn't mean I'm not going to take EMA bounces. It doesn't mean I'm not going to take the initial balance play occasionally if it makes sense. But for the most part, I'm going to try to limit myself on my funded accounts to the inversion trade, the best inversion trade of the day, or a 5-minute breakout, you know, 5-minute trend line break, something along those lines. I just have to change something. You have to recognize sometimes when you're not trading well, and you have to kind of take a look in the mirror and see what you should be doing different. And so that's what I'm going to do. Now, it's not the end of the world if we do end up blowing these accounts. I do have 4 past Bulenox accounts already that I'm waiting to activate the first of the month. The reason I have not activated them is because of this reason. Because I know I've not been trading that great. And had I already activated these past Apex accounts, they would be in the exact same situation that these are in. But we do have 4 Apexes that are sitting here waiting for activation. We also have 4 Bulenox accounts waiting for activation. So hopefully by putting these rules on ourselves, we can just kind of start fresh tomorrow. We're going to consider tomorrow the start of the week, the start of something new, and we're going to go forward and see if we can't turn things around. So if you guys haven't already, hit that like button for me. Subscribe if you're not yet subscribed, and we'll see you guys next time.